What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time I'm going to be taking a look at Kingsman: The Golden Circle, the sequel to the first movie, Kingsman: A Secret Service. Now, I really liked the first Kingsman movie. I thought it was a great movie. It was a lot of fun. It's a good love letter / parody of the old spy movies, like James Bond. And The Golden Circle, while I overall enjoyed it a lot. It's a very fun movie. It's got a lot of cool characters in it. Some really good characters. Of course, some favorite characters from the first movie return for this one, like Merlin, played by Mark Strong, who is great in this movie. I think Mark Strong, to me, got a lot to do in this movie, and I actually like the chemistry that was happening between him and Halle Berry when they were working together. So yeah, Mark Strong in this movie was fantastic, and I like the whole thing of him being a John Denver fan. And how that plays in throughout the movie. So that was good stuff. Taron Egerton, the guy who played Eggsy in the first movie, returns again for this one, and he does a great job. I like how he plays Eggsy as being a little bit more polished, a little bit more seasoned. He's in a relationship with the Princess of Sweden as after the first movie, so they're in like a really good relation. They have a good relationship going on. And he's good throughout the movie. I like Eggsy throughout the movie. He's got the funniest lines. He gets himself in these ridiculous situations. And he's great all around. I like it. Colin Firth returns as Harry Hart, and Colin Firth, he was great in the first one, and he's better in this one. And of course, this movie explains how he survives the events of the first movie. I'm not going to get into it because it's a very convoluted explanation. I will say that for like a good part of the movie, it kind of leaves him with amnesia, and he pretty much forgets that he was a Kingsman, a Secret Service agent. So pretty much throughout a good portion of the movie is pretty much Eggsy and Merlin trying to get Harry to remember who he is. And the stuff is pretty fun when he's like just a regular guy, and then when he gets his memories back, Colin Firth gives a fun performance all the way around. I like I like the inclusion of the Statesman, which is pretty much the Americanized version of Kingsman. We get Channing Tatum, who is as Tequila, who has a fun little role. We get Jeff Bridges as Champagne, who's got a couple cool scenes. Halle Berry's in this movie. She does pretty good for herself. And we got this other actor who plays a character called Whiskey, and he's not bad also. He's actually got a lot of funny lines, got a lot of funny moments also. So yeah, Julianne Moore is in this movie as the villain, playing a villain called Poppy. And Julianne Moore does a good job, but she doesn't have that, but her character was not as good as Samuel L. Jackson's. Julianne Moore's character is basically that of an average drug lord who pretty much poisons all of the world, and she pretty much has the antidote to cure all. And that's pretty much it. Her plot is Julianne Moore's character doesn't have that menace that a Samuel Jackson character had. It's not saying she was bad in the movie, because she wasn't. She was very entertaining to watch, but also very unmemorable to watch. But yeah, like overall, the acting is great. The action sequences. This is a very action-heavy movie, and the action is grand. It's over the top. It outdoes the first movie in a lot of ways, but it's really fun to watch. Like, the first action set piece where Eggsy is pretty much fighting this guy in a car is fun. There's this cool action set piece where Eggsy, Whiskey, and Harry Hart are trying to go to like this facility to try and find the antidote to the drug, and there's like a bunch of madness going on. It's fun. I like the final scene where Eggsy, Merlin, and Harry go to Poppy's hideout, which is pretty much turned into like a retro 50s type deal. So yeah, that's a fun action set piece. This movie's got a cameo by Elton John, and Elton John is hilarious as like pretty much a captive of Poppy. So Elton John was pretty funny, and I also love how he was playing Saturday during an action sequences, but it was on at Wednesday. So it was really fun. She was hilarious. Elton John was a great job, and I like this little thing between him and Harry Hart, which I thought was hilarious, where Harry was like, "If I save the world, can I have tickets? Darling, if you save the world, I'll give you backstage pass." That was hilarious. That was good shit right there. Now, this movie also has a lot of really emotional moments because pretty much Poppy pretty much annihilates the entire Kingsman, which is why they have to go stateside. She destroys, the store, the clothing store. She destroys the headquarters, which pretty much kills a couple of characters. So yeah, Poppy pretty much a big threat. Initially, is a big threat. Then she pretty much loses that menace later as the movie progresses. But when they go stateside, that's where the fun happens too. Because that's where we get, Tatum and all those guys, and they come in, and I like the integration of their characters with the Kingsmen, because I think overall they play really well off each other. So yeah, all that is all fine and good. Of course, this movie also kills off one of my favorite characters from the first movie, and that is Merlin. Merlin, played by Mark Strong. Like I said, Mark Strong in this movie was awesome. He was hilarious. He was fun. He had some good tender moments. I love the scene where he and Eggsy are getting drunk after they discovered that pretty much all their friends and fellow agents are dead. And I love the scene where they get wasted. It's hilarious. I like the whole running joke of Mark Strong being a John Denver fan and him singing the song. That John Denver song, so take me home, blah 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 blah, and in Merlin's death scene, he sings that song because he stepped on a landmine, so it pretty much as a way to draw off Poppy's men off Harry Hart and Eggsy. He stayed on the landmine, was singing the song, take me home. Pretty much his final act was a badass act because he went out taking out pretty much almost everyone there. So Merlin, I wish they wouldn't have killed off Merlin, but he went out like a badass, so I can't complain about that at all. Matthew Vaughn's directing, just like in the first movie, was great. The cinematography in this movie looks great. The movie is really well shot. It looks very comic book like, which is fantastic, and it really the cinematography really makes this thing feel like an over-the-top comic book come to life. It's great. It's visually stunning. So yeah, pretty much overall, those are my thoughts on Kingsman: The Golden Circle. At the end of the day, I'm gonna give it the same grade I gave the first one, which is a 9 out of 10. I think this movie's great. This movie's fun. Julianne Moore is not as memorable villain as Samuel Jackson, but she's cool in her own right. And everything else in between is just as good. So 9 out of 10 for Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Anyway, my name is AJ Legend. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.